Hello, and welcome to the Blue Collar Wealth Club podcast. I am your host, Jerry Garcia.
I am your other host, Sheena White.
All right, today we want to talk about feedback and accepting feedback and not taking it personally and really just taking it for what it's worth and using it to improve your business.
Yeah.
At least improve the satisfaction from your business.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of times, your business is kind of near and dear to your heart. So sometimes taking feedback can seem like an attack. And I don't think necessarily people are trying to attack you. I think a lot of times they're trying to help you in a way.
Sure. And sometimes, it always depends on where the feedback is coming from, right? But if you hear something and your initial instinct is to take offense and defend right away, that's the perfect time to take a step back and say, all right, what is this person really telling me? Is this person a client of yours? Is it a family member? Is it somebody within your business as an employee or a partner? Take the time to step back and try not to react to that emotionally and really say, okay, why is this upsetting me? Why is it upsetting them? And kind of try to figure things out from there.
Yeah, because feedback could be your greatest source of ideas and improvement and achievement. So like a great example of this is, I don't remember the company's name, but there was a guy, he recently sold his company to Adobe for a lot of money. I think it was almost like $1 billion or something like that. It was crazy. It was a lot of money. And he was quite young and he had built this company who was really taking on Adobe. And of course they decided to buy him out because that's what big companies do. They buy out their competitors. But he was on the map and they noticed him. And they, some people asked him later, like, how did you do this? How did you make this fledgling company into this huge thing so quickly? And he literally said that every single weekend he personally would go through support tickets. So he personally was seeing what was broken, what was wrong, what were people unhappy about. And he was taking all of this literally negative feedback, right? These are support tickets. So these are people, that are like, this is broken, that's broken. I can't fix this. And you can imagine, when we're looking at the complaint deck, it's a problem, right? It's not going to be super fun. But he did it every single weekend. And he said that viewing those support tickets, taking in the feedback straight from his customer on what wasn't working was the number one thing that helped him transform his business into this huge company that was bought out.
No, I love that. I think that's exactly right. You need to hear the feedback, right? And take it for what it's worth. You're always going to have certain people who just complain, and you'll be able to filter through those over time, somebody who's just complaining to complain. But especially if you're looking through feedback and reviews and seeing the same type of thing over and over again, that should identify where your priority should be, right? If the same person or multiple people are saying the same thing, hey, we're having an issue with this, or nobody's called me for 2 weeks and you've had my car, or whatever it is, that is a great place to start because that's obviously the most common form of negative feedback that you're receiving. So change that process. Like, hey, we have somebody's car, we're working on it, we need to give them updates no different or no fewer than 2 to 3 times a week. Somebody, if you're in an auto body shop and you're working on somebody's car, that's how they get around. That's their transportation. They need to know what the progress is on their vehicle or when you expect it to be finished. And just a simple phone call like that can make that big of a difference. Yeah.
Well, I think communication is always huge, right? A lot of my clients, we focus on over communication with clients versus under. Like one of them, it's literally communicate until they tell you to stop. That's the policy of the company. Communicate until they tell you not to, because I think it's super important. But, hearing the feedback from your clients and from your colleagues, positive and negative. If you're hearing great things, keep doing that. Don't let that go. For instance, one of the ones I'm actually concerned about right now is Southwest Airlines. They just came out and said that they're going to stop with the open seating policy. I think that's pretty much the worst thing ever. I'm really anti this decision. I love the open seating policy. Maybe I'm the only one, but I've heard on this word on the street that I'm not the only one who loves this. Certain people are like, that's why I don't use Southwest. I'm like, no, that in the bags. I love it. Just let me sit
Bags.
wherever. The bags, they said that they're keeping the bags, which, because I think there would be just a mutiny if they got rid of the bag policy. But, to change something so drastic, if people, your customers are telling you they love something, maybe don't change it.
Yeah, that goes both ways, right? Not only the negative feedback, the positive feedback too. You keep seeing over and over again, oh, we really love this. Great. How can we improve that even further? Or, definitely make sure that at least at the minimum you're continuing with whatever it is that is making your company stand out from other companies. But yeah, once again, it's a lot of it is just taking that step back, analyzing what somebody's actually saying when they're giving you this feedback and not taking it personally. Like you said, our businesses, they grow with us. They feel like our baby, and it can be hard for someone to tell you that, something negative about your child, and this business
Hmm.
being your child. So definitely take that feedback and step back, figure out where it's coming from. Okay, well, why did they say this? Sometimes they're not giving you the exact reason that they're upset, but you could take a step back and try to walk through it. Okay, if I was this person, if I was experiencing this, like what would have caused that? Like you said, a lot of times communication is probably the number one thing that hurts a customer experience more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, and then think about feedback from your employees too. Welcome feedback from your employees. That's how you will retain them. And that is how you will, get better work product out of them. People want to feel seen and heard. And so if they don't feel like they can tell you or that you're listening, they will stop and they will just go away. And that can be a really dangerous place for your business, because then you have turnover and a whole bunch of other things that aren't great. And so you really want to focus on taking in the feedback from your employees as well, and really trying to, to integrate that feedback into your business.
Yeah, make sure that your employees know that they have, first of all, give them some sort of a platform to give you this
Hmm.
feedback, right? And then give them permission. Make sure they understand, like, look, we want to hear it. If it's bad, if it's negative, you know, it shouldn't just be straight complaining or
Yeah.
venting, but let us know if there's something wrong. And if you have an idea on how to improve something, please let us know, because that's going to help us grow the company and, reward your employees for giving you that feedback. Let them know that, we want this. This is how we improve. This is how we get better. And if somebody's giving you great ideas that you're using, find a way to incentivize them, whether it's a promotion, whether it's, just giving them some sort of a bonus that, is not even, I don't regulated, just like, hey,
Hmm.
we really like this. This was great for us. Here's a little bone to just say thank you.
Yeah. One, like, when I'm doing quarterly planning sessions with clients, we do a start, stop, keep discussion. We say, okay, what do we need to start doing? What do we need to stop doing? And what do we need to keep doing? And with one of my clients this last quarter, we actually asked the entire team, and we did it in a completely anonymous environment. We said, hey, you know what? This is completely anonymous. We just want to know from you, what do you think we should start? What do you think we should stop? What do you think we should keep? And it was actually a really awesome discussion, because some of the things we thought they wanted to stop, they actually really wanted to keep, because we're like, oh man, they like that. Cool. That's awesome. And, it really kind of helped us to engage in a more thorough discussion about the next steps for the organization for the quarter and then for next year. But it was hugely useful feedback. And, some of it, sometimes you get a little upset about, you're like, really, that's your issue? But then at the end of the day, or you say to yourself, man, I already have those trainings, you just didn't watch them. Like, stop asking me for stuff you already have access to. But at the end of the day, that just meant we needed to better communicate that those trainings were already available, right? Obviously, this person whomever they were, had no clue that what they were asking for already existed. So then it's, hey, we're back to communication. It's not about that they, were wanting something. It was more, hey, we recognize within ourselves we need to communicate these available resources better, because obviously we've created all these resources for the team and they don't know it. So a resource that's there but nobody knows about it isn't actually a resource.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it can help with a lot of misunderstandings too, right? Like if you have employees who have a particular problem with something and they bring it up, it can allow you to explain, like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about this. here's the reason why we do this the way that we do this. And maybe it's just that they don't understand something about a process or a procedure. And, just being able to air out their frustration with it and get some explanation behind the why can go a long way for them saying, oh, okay. Or maybe that does help tweak that procedure or process. Or maybe it just helps them to understand, like, oh, well, now I understand why we're doing that. 'Cause sometimes it feels like, your boss can just be giving you something to do, and it just seems like busy work. And if they are able to explain, no, well, we actually need to track this because this tells us this helps us track this so that we can, plan for this, whatever the thing is behind it. Maybe just understanding the reasoning behind it can really help that employee to not feel so frustrated with just the work that you're asking them to do.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, giving the attribution or the reasons behind things is super important, especially to employees, because sometimes they don't, if you're just asking them to do something without explaining why, they're just like, "Ugh, what is even the point?" And then they kind of blow it off, or they'll like half-ass it. But if you explain, hey, the reasoning for this is this, then they'll put a lot more effort into it, and it really helps. And just, giving the feedback both directions, right? That's another thing. Feedback to your employees. It's always the worst when you have to go to an employee and have a difficult conversation about something that's going wrong, but they have no idea, because in reviews or in this or in that, in every communication up until that point, you've been telling them glowing things, or you've been too afraid to have those hard conversations, that you've just been having the easy conversation. Oh, it's great. Oh, it's great. And then when they come and ask for a raise and you're like, what? I'm not giving that person a raise. They suck, or they don't do this and they don't do that, but you never told them. Right. So it's really about being brave enough to give the hard feedback too. So you have to be brave enough to take it, but you also, as a leader, have to be brave enough to give it. Because to me, a true leader is someone who wants to push people to not to break, but to build them, right? Push them to be better, help them be better. And this isn't like an open call to like bash them or tell them all the things they're doing wrong. That's not what I'm talking about at all. But you know what I mean? Like the ways that you can give constructive criticism to people to help them be a better person tomorrow, to help them be a better version of themselves that will help them forever.
Well, the bottom line is most people want to do great at whatever it is they're doing, right? If they make the effort to come into work every day and work for your company and work for your brand, they want to do a good job for you. And if they don't, they need to go away anyway. But most people who are in a position and they've stayed there for a while want to do well. They want to succeed. They want to thrive. And getting that feedback to them, allows them to do that. It gives them some room for growth. And like you said, half the time, they don't even know that they are doing something wrong or that they're causing any issues down the line. And that's where all of this communication comes into play, in just taking that feedback and giving it, first of all, and then taking it, internalizing it, trying to fix it, trying to improve it. Make sure that your employees just are aware that, you want to hear it, and that they have that permission to give you that feedback without facing consequence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I don't even remember where I read this or heard this, but it was really great. And it said that people don't quit jobs, people quit people. And at first I'm like, huh? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, you're right. Because when somebody quits working for you, they don't go do something completely different. They go do that exact same thing just for somebody else. So they're not quitting their job in essence, because they're doing the exact same job, just not for you. So they're quitting you. So if you're having a huge attrition problem, recognize that you're the problem or your
Sometimes
organization.
that is the feedback, right?
Yeah.
The feedback is just the result. If you're seeing a lot of turnover, there is a problem there. Whether you're hearing the feedback from these employees or not,
they will give it to you one way or another.
Is there.
They're leaving. Right? Yeah. I mean, and sometimes, if you're kind of transforming the business and you hit people's lids and then they leave because you really felt that it was the end and they needed to leave anyways, that's different. But I'm talking about if all of a sudden, like, you have people just dropping like flies and you don't know why, and you thought they were great people, then you need to look at yourself or your leaders, their direct reports, like what is going on here, because that's the issue, because it's not the work, because they're going to do that same work for someone else.
Yeah. And being the type of leader who hears this feedback makes your company the type of company that people want to work for. And, your retention problems will go away. You'll get better referrals into your company from people who love working there. And it really will solve a lot of problems for you in the long run.
Yeah. So we talked about feedback from customers, we talked about feedback from employees, and now from outside sources. So people, consultants or advisors or friends, people that specifically people that you've hired or paid money to tell you things, like, actually listen, please. So he's laughing because I talk about this all the time. And we'll do another episode all about implementation, but just really like being open, right? Obviously, if you have hired someone or you've taken the step that you're like, look, I need outside counsel in my business, you've taken the first step. But the second step is actually being open to listening and taking in what they're saying, and some of my clients do this really, really well, and some don't, and it goes slower, and they get the ROI, much later. Because the ones that like hear and listen and see and want to improve, it just goes a lot faster and it gets a lot better, and then we can do deeper work, really, because the whole process of growing a business is also kind of the process of becoming, right? You don't wake up one day and you're a $10 million CEO. It's not the way it works. It's a becoming. And every single bit of that, you have to strip away some layers, and you have to add on some layers. And you have to do all this transformation of yourself in order to become that human who has a $10 million business or a $100 million business, whatever your goal is. It's not overnight. It's not instantaneous. But if you're hiring someone to help you, they're not just helping with your business, they're helping you with your becoming of that person who owns and runs that business that you want.
Absolutely.
Nothing to add?
I don't know what else to say there. It was a whole diatribe.
Oh, thank you. I'm like, well, I obviously have been thinking about this a lot because I have some things to say. But in reality, and even with my own self and my mentors and stuff, one of my mentors, Taylor Welch, we do a lot of like mindset work and mind work, and sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, no, just this isn't what I need to know how to change my click-through ratio, which they have that too. But it's like, it's all about the becoming. And so I'm really delving more into that and realizing that in a lot of ways, when you're hiring outside counsel, that's the thing you honestly probably need the most help with, right? All the bells and whistles and the spreadsheets. I mean, and I'm obsessed with spreadsheets, and I'll give you a million, but at the end of the day, I can give you a million spreadsheets, and if you stay the same, nothing else is going to change. The real work has to be done with you, and you have to be open to receiving that and to changing and to growing.
Yeah, because it's not only the business itself, right? Sometimes that feedback comes to you directly as how you lead or how you run things or how people perceive you from an outside perspective. And all that's important. So,
yeah,
feedback comes in a lot of different forms from a lot of different sources, and all of it plays an important role in how you and your business are perceived and succeed.
Yeah, and just focusing on receiving the feedback to understand and to get better, not to defend. And I think our instantaneous, we're fight or flight humans, right? We're designed to just not die. So instantaneously, when our bodies think that somebody's coming after us, we're defending. But we need to just like lay down the guard and recognize that sometimes people are not there to help us, but generally those people are either hiding behind a computer or, they won't give you really anything constructive to your face. Let's be real. They're going to talk behind your back and you're going to hear it from somebody else. And you will, because we always do. But the people who are coming to you and helping you and telling you to your face, hey, I see this and this and this, this is what we need to work on. This is where we need to push. Generally speaking, in my experience, it's coming from a place of wanting to help you, not to hurt you. So, yeah. So taking the feedback, recognizing that people really are on your side, And I think that's a mindset shift too, is, Taylor always says, like, it's happening for you, not to you. And he's been through some crazy, crazy stuff, lost a humongous company. I mean, I've lost a company that was much, much smaller and it sucked. So I can only imagine what it felt like to lose a company that big. And, in recognizing, coming out on the other side, like, what can we learn from these experiences and what can we learn from even the indirect feedback that we're getting from the universe?
Absolutely.
So, well, that is all I have to say on that. I kind of went a little soliloquy there at the end, sorry. But thank you so much for joining us on the Blue Collar Wealth Club, and we'll catch you next time.